You've heard the saying a million times, right? The pen is mightier than the sword. But is that just a nice little phrase, or is there something fundamentally true about the power of words to stand up against brute force? Well, today we're going to explore just that, how writing, from poems to political essays, becomes a real, powerful tool for action and for resistance.
So let's just get right to the heart of it with a huge question. Can a poem actually stop a tank? I mean, really, can one single sentence spark a full-blown revolution? It sounds kind of romantic, maybe a little naive even, but as we're about to see, history, and the present for that matter, is filled with people who bet their entire lives on the answer being a resounding yes.
And look, this isn't some abstract philosophical debate. This quote right here, from an editorial by the World Poetry Movement, grounds us in a really urgent reality. It's a declaration that for a lot of writers, staying quiet, well, it's just not an option. Writing becomes an act of bearing witness, a refusal to just look away. And that's exactly where our first story kicks off.
All right, so first up, let's take a look at a truly global phenomenon, the World Poetry Movement. And this isn't some stuffy academic journal we're talking about. This is a living, breathing example of writing as a form of worldwide solidarity. So what is the WPM? Well, you can think of it as this massive international coalition, bringing together poets and literary groups from all over. And their mission is actually pretty simple, but incredibly powerful. Unite poets from every single corner of the globe and create this shared space where their voices can echo together, especially when times get tough. And when we say global, we really mean it. I mean, just look at this list. It's like a planetary chorus. A single issue of their journal has voices from Sierra Leone, Colombia, Iran, China, Cuba, Montenegro, Russia, Kyrgyzstan, Argentina, Zimbabwe. The list just keeps going. It proves that these concerns, these struggles, they're truly universal.
And what's so powerful is that inside this huge, global political collection, you find these incredibly personal, intimate moments. Take this poem from Cuban poet Alberto Peraza Ceballos. It's this quiet memory of his mother ironing clothes. But then you get to that beautiful line, through which she used to hear the world pass by, and you just feel the weight of an entire life, lived inside a much bigger history. It really shows how the political is always personal.
And then, on the flip side, you get this, raw, unflinching political testimony. This verse doesn't pull any punches. It confronts the horror of conflict head-on, using this painful metaphor of a stillborn poem to parallel the lives lost in Gaza. This isn't just about expressing sadness. It's about using language to force you, the reader, to be a witness, to feel the sheer inhumanity of it all.
Okay, so from this massive global movement, let's zoom in a little. Let's focus on one single iconic poet, Faiz Ahmed Faiz. Now, he was a master of a totally different kind of resistance. He figured out how to take the language of love itself and turn it into a weapon for revolution. And this quote, this gets to the absolute heart of his work. For Faiz, personal suffering under a tyrant wasn't just a private pain. He completely transformed it. The tormented body becomes a symbol for the entire oppressed nation, and every single particle of that body holds the seed of a hidden revolution. Love and pain become political fuel.
You see, this is his core philosophy, right here. Love, in his poetry, is not some distraction from the harsh realities of politics. No, it's the entire motivation. The love you have for a person, for your people, for your homeland, that's what makes the fight against injustice not just something you should do, but something you absolutely have to do. All right, let's switch gears a bit. We're moving from poetry to prose, and from Pakistan to pre-independence India. Now, we often remember Bhagat Singh as this fiery freedom fighter, right? But maybe his most powerful weapon wasn't a bomb, but his mind and his words. They were the ammunition. He was a deeply profound writer and thinker.
Wow, I mean, this quote just hits you like a ton of bricks, doesn't it? For Singh, revolution wasn't a job for the old guard or the politicians. It was the sole responsibility of the young. He saw youth not just as an age, but as a state of pure revolutionary energy, a force that could literally rewrite history.
So you might be wondering, where did these radical ideas come from? Well, they didn't just appear out of thin air. He was shaped by things like the Ghadar movement, an early secular movement founded abroad. But the real turning point for him came in 1922, when Gandhi called off the huge non-cooperation movement after a violent incident. Singh and a lot of others felt like nonviolence just wasn't enough. That's what pushed them to define a more direct, a more revolutionary path forward.
And his thinking was just laser-focused. Take a look at how he broke down the problem of communal riots.
He argued the problem wasn't really about religion at its core. It was about economics. He saw leaders and newspapers deliberately using religious division to distract people from their real shared problems. Poverty and exploitation. And his solution? Stop dividing by faith and start uniting by class, as workers and peasants.
He even went a step further, exploring ideas like anarchism. Now, I know for a lot of people that word just screams chaos, but look at how Singh defined it. To him, it was a vision for a new society based on real liberty, free from a government that he believed always, ultimately relies on violence. He wasn't just thinking about kicking out the British, he was actively trying to draft the blueprint for a whole new world. But this last quote from him, man, it's so personal, so powerful. He lays out his own journey, from being a firm believer to an atheist, not out of some kind of arrogance, but through deep, critical thought. And his final stand, to stand like a man with an erect head, even as he's facing the gallows, it was a testament to his ultimate faith in human reason and our own ability to stand on our own 2 feet without waiting for divine intervention. Okay, so we've looked at a global movement, a revolutionary love poet, and a fiery political essayist. Let's try to pull all these threads together now and see what the core idea is that connects them all. This quote from the Palestinian poet Hanan Awad brings everything right back to the here and now. She doesn't just call the pen a tool for writing, she calls it a message of freedom and a sharp sword. For her, and for so many others living under oppression, writing isn't just a hobby or a choice. It's an act of survival. It's an assertion of their own humanity. So what this all shows us is that the pen isn't just one weapon, it's a whole arsenal. It can be used to bear witness, right? Creating a global record so that injustice can't be forgotten, like we saw with the World Poetry Movement. It can be used to subvert language itself, turning something as personal as love into a call for revolution, like Faiz did. And it can be used to actually draft the future, to lay out the intellectual blueprint for a brand new world, just like Bhagat Singh. At the end of the day, that's what this all boils down to. It doesn't matter if it's a poem whispered in a quiet room or an essay shouted in the streets. The fundamental act of putting words down on a page is a declaration. It's a refusal to be erased, a refusal to be made invisible, a refusal to be silenced. And that leaves us with one final thought. A question, really. For you, for me, for all of us. The struggles are still going on. The world is still burning in a lot of places. The sword is as sharp as it's ever been. So the question isn't if the pen is mighty. The question is, in our time, right now, what are the words that need to be written?